This is War Cry. We're on the wall crying out for our children, our communities, our schools, our churches, our families. This is War Cry. Welcome to our reality. Gun violence, Chicago, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, just to name a few. Our black children are dying day by day. This is War Cry. Police brutality. Hands up! Don't move. I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter to Christ. This is War Cry. Drugs, rape, mass shootings, school violence. This is War Cry. Galvanizing people to pray for our children and to take action. Let's march on Washington. We want prayer back in you. This is War Cry. Cameras, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is War Cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is War Cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is War Cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is War Cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is War Cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. Fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is War Cry. HBCUs under attack. This is War Cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is War Cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is War Cry. Oh, let us come together and pray for our young people, pray for our communities, pray for our schools, pray for our churches, pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is War Cry, home of the brave, land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is War Cry. Hashtag mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their sons. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is War Cry.
I know who goes before me. I know who stays behind. The God of Israel's army is always by my side.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are so excited about our guest that's going to be joining us this morning. I don't know if Benjamin Jamison is on yet, but he's going to be on in 5 minutes. He's going to be logging in, and we are so excited about our guest. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Just give us a short introduction, real quick.
Hi. Okay. I am C. Phoenix Tyler, coming from Chicago, born and raised. I write, produce, and direct plays. Just stepped into the film industry, and I love what I do. I love who I am, and I love teaching our people about our people.
Excellent. Okay, Danielle, you go.
Hello, my name is Danielle Williams, and I'm the coordinator of Connect Faith, where we work with faith communities in addressing intimate partner violence.
Okay, and we are expecting Benjamin Jamison. Has he logged on, or either Dr. Gregory Johnson? Are they on the line yet? Okay, we are expecting them to join us. As you know, you're on War Cry. War Cry is an urban radio podcast, broadcast, radio station, and we deal with the problems that face our people in the Valley. In the Valley, we deal with problems that face our school systems, our problems that face us in the area of violence, our churches, our government, our schools. We deal with it all, period. And this is war cry. We are not politically correct, but we're Christ correct. And we're here to make a difference, just not by our mouth, but by putting our mouth and actions to practice. So to all our listeners, feel free to chat, feel free to give, feel free to be yourself. Now, before we get started, I just want to make some announcements. We had a fire in Brooklyn that killed a mother and her 2 kids. Did you hear about that, Danielle?
No, I vaguely heard about it.
Yes, yes. So we want to be praying for that family. And when we talk about fires, because this is New York City, and just like Chicago, there are buildings that are multiple heights. So we have multiple buildings, and our firemen are really busy at doing and taking care of the situation. But the Bronx has the highest fire rate of anyone, next along with Brooklyn. So we need to pray for those things. Did you hear about the building that collapsed in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio, when these people was going out to a party and it has injured 30? Hey, things are on the move. And guess what? We've got to stay involved with those things that affect our community, because this is war cry. And whether we know it or not, life shows up and it happens. And we've got to stand in the gap. So we're going to go right on and jump into our show today. Now, because we like to talk about a variety of things, and we're still waiting on 2 guests to come on, we want to start with our newest guest, and we want her to tell us about her newest films that she made, her newest play that she has, and just to give us an overall view of what you are doing. But before you do that, let us know what's going on in Chicago with the violence and what's going on.
We are really trying to make a difference. We do have local organizations that come together and try to help our youth. Just keep us lifted up in prayer. Keep us lifted up in prayer, because we are trying. Okay. And when you don't have the resources, it's kind of difficult, but we're just praying that we get the resources that we need to redirect our youth, to change the way they think and the way they feel about themselves. Because if you feel a certain way about yourself, you'll behave a certain way. So if we can get them to know who they are and whose they are, and to instill that pride in them, then we can direct the way they're happy. We can direct the behavior. We can direct the habits.
Now, when we look at what our young people are faced with, and we look at the amount of violence, especially Black on Black, and especially when we look at the crime system with what is going on with our young boys, we don't want to leave our young girls out, because guess what? We know there are girl gangs as well. And sometimes the girl gangs could be just as vicious. But the media really controls the narrative. Can I get an amen? And the media puts out there exactly what it wants us to hear. And so it's magnifying or intensifying itself on Black crime. It's intensifying itself on Black boys. But it forgets about the girl gangs. It forgets about how many of our girls have been kidnapped and taken into being slave trade and taken into the life of pornography and things like that. We don't talk about that. Do you know how many young Black girls go missing a day?
Yes.
Danielle.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, we can't look to the media to put that narrative out. They should. But when we start putting that narrative out within our spaces, just like we are today, that is going to be the cue to the broader media that, okay, y'all need to be talking about this too. But I think it starts with us to talk about the various issues, as you brought up, what happens with our girls, what happens with our young women, whether it's the sex trafficking, people who are missing. And then also you have the mass incarceration of girls and women, or they call it the school to prison pipeline for Black girls is also a thing. As we talked about last week, the molestation, domestic violence, and sexual assault pipeline to prison is a real thing. And so, as we continue to use our media and to use our voices to talk about it and make it a priority amongst our community, I think that's the best way to move forward.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Now our engineer who hosts my station has already proposed that we come together and develop our own news station.
Yes.
We come together as Black women, Black men, as urban leaders. We come together and begin to develop our own systems of communication, because nobody is talking about what happens in the urban area. Now, we're going to jump into the subject, but before I get into that, is that before our young kids are actually piped through a system, there is something else that is corrupted as well. And I'm going to say it. I'm not politically correct, but I'm going to say it. The curriculum in our school systems are not where they should be in the urban areas. They're not there to develop our kids. They're there to run them away. What do you think about that? Come on in.
I know what bothers me. Not just what bothers me is our history being taught. And I know this is leading into my show, the play that I'm doing right now, From Slavery to the White House. It just amazes me.
Oh, wait, hold it. Excuse me. What's the name of that play again?
From Slavery to the White House. And the actors.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold it. You mean we can come from slavery and end up in the White House?
Yes, ma'am. The actors actually starred in Africa, and we work our way through every era to the present day with what's going on in society today. And so what amazes me is that when we go to the schools and we do the show, the 60-minute version for the children, they have no clue about our history. That really amazes me. And they ask questions. When they get to the saying Black Power, they're just saying Black Power. When I hear the stories of principals and people calling back saying, gosh, that play really made a difference. It's like, wow, they don't know their history. So that's what we're pressing right now. When you talk about curriculum, teach about our history. When you know who you are, when you know where you come from, then you tend to do better. You tend to look at yourself a little bit different. If they can teach other history, why not our history? We didn't ask the.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Let me ask you a question. Why do you think that DeSantis and other states in Texas as well want to remove our history out of the classrooms, out of the libraries? Now, the truth of the matter is the history that's in there is really not a true history. Mm-hmm. That's not true history. That's still a white man's version of what he thinks that our history was, because the slave master cannot tell the slave story. Can't. The oppressor can't tell who he hurt. So we got to really have plays such as yourself. But why do you think at this time, 2023, that they want to shift it and move? Not only they don't want it taught, they don't want it in the library. They are burning books in Alabama. Why?
Number one, I know they've removed slavery from some history books in certain states. And that's because, number one, slavery happened here in America. It happened in other places too. And sometimes it's kind of difficult to own up when you made a mistake, when you did something wrong. And it's kind of difficult to apologize, and it hurts, and so that could be a piece of it. But again, when you teach a person who they are and they know who they are, they become powerful, even more powerful than what they are. And so that could be a reason. I can't speak for others who want to remove our history, but I know it's up to us to keep it in the school system, to keep it in people's faces, to keep our history alive. It's up to us. We can't depend on anyone else to do it, but it's up to us. Whether we do it in the schools, in the churches, in civic organizations, it's up to us to do it. So good
question. Why don't you think we teach it in church?
That part, I don't know. I just had the benefit. I had the benefit of growing up with teachers who were kind of on the last the last of the civil rights movement. So they made sure that we knew that my classes knew about our history. My dad was like a historian, and he made sure that I knew who I was and where I came from, and he pressed that my history. Being a member of the being artist, a resident artist of the DuSable Museum. Even when I was I want to say it was in high school, I learned the history. I knew about Dr. Margaret Burroughs. I knew about Harold Washington. I knew about the people just in Chicago who were great and they were history makers, let alone Shirley Chisholm and Representative Al Green, Sheila Jackson Lee. So it's up to us to do it. We're at this point now where we can't depend on anyone else to do it except us. We have to count on us. Again, just like what Danielle said, even with the media, it's up to us to put that narrative out there and to change it.
It's up to us to now come together and now create a narrative so that our people, our urban people, can understand, because they're trying to erase all of that out now. Now, Danielle, what do you think about that? Why don't you think the churches should be teaching more? And guess what? The stories that we read about, it's not even the stories, because slavery just didn't start when the boats came over here.
Yes.
The Roman Church started slavery way before that. Go ahead, Danielle.
You know, it's very interesting, because when you think at one of the gifts that we as African descended people have is storytelling, right? Yes. It's storytelling. We are the most phenomenal storytellers. That's why every time something happened on the news, what do? They find the nearest Black person that witnessed what happened. You know how to tell stories, right? That's like the epitome of the Black church. Is the pastor at the pulpit telling these stories from the Bible. And so why aren't folks talking about our stories in the Black church? You know, Elder Montgomery, you know, that's a deeper conversation. Because
I think, let me just say something. I think a lot of us, we are ashamed about our history. Our history is ugly, and we want to run away from our history, and we don't want it to repeat. You know what the church says? The church said, oh, put it in a sea of forgiveness. Don't talk about it. Don't repeat it. Just move forward. Why are we talking about our history? Let's move forward. That's some of the church's position. Go ahead.
Yes, and it's because, you know, when you look at how Black folk got Christianity, it was for a purpose of they emphasized the particular verses: forgive those who've done you wrong, obey your slave master. They pulled those pieces of the Bible and they taught that, and they took the Exodus and they threw it out. So when you have the Christianity that was pushed on Black folk, it was for a particular reason. And it's up to the Black church. And then the messages that they gave. And, you know, this is repeated this last weekend, that forget our heritage. As a matter of fact, everything that your ancestors did was evil and demonic. Forget them. Move forward here in America. Everything that is Black is evil, it's demonic, and it's wrong. Adopt these ways that we're outlining for you. And so, you know, that's why it's important for the Black church to really deconstruct some of that stuff. And I always give the Black church credit for being the institutions in our communities during these really trying times, and then the strong liberation ethic that came out of that. Because a lot of our ancestors was like, oh, what you giving us is a hot mess. But let me connect some dots here with some of the wisdom of my ancestors, and we gonna make this work. But what you also see is just the reemergence of this white theology that like gets folks asleep to allow these injustices and things to happen. So, you know, I agree with Sister Phoenix. it's going to have to be us, and we're going to have to work on some of our minds, because there's systems. We get caught up in these systems, but it's these systems, but it's also our minds get caught up. Yeah. We all, as Black people, we have to decolonize, because we've internalized so much anti-Blackness. Everyone who was born in America, even if you're Black, you're constantly getting anti-Black messages. So we have to deconstruct that out of ourselves, and whichever faith community, I don't care if you're Christian, you're Black Christian, Black Muslim, whatever, you have to deconstruct these things and say which aspects of my tradition are actually being pushed by white supremacists to keep me and my community asleep.
Yeah, and
go ahead, Phoenix.
To piggyback off of what Danielle said, we do have to change the mindset. And if you don't know your history, I don't care who you are, you will repeat it. And that's one of the things we want to make sure that we don't repeat slavery, and that we keep it in their faces, and in America faces, in the world faces. And one thing I can say is that being here in Chicago, I haven't received pushback from any churches, people coming out to see the show, but I have had people, a couple of people leave the show in the beginning because of the pain. It's hard to deal with pain. We went through a lot. We're resilient. We're still here. We're still standing. We're not going anywhere. We went through a lot. And for people to see the pain is hard to deal with. Just in any situation. So, yeah.
And Phoenix, let me just jump in. We have been traumatized all our lives. Trauma is really in our DNA. And we don't want to admit that. Trauma is in our DNA, because from the time that we actually was separated in Africa by the Roman Catholic Church, Danielle, can I say it? Roman Catholic Church, the popes, they were responsible for the slave trade. I'm going to say it. I'm hoping no one's on here from the Catholic Church. And if it is, then guess what? Know your history. Know your history. Our history did not start when they brought slaves to this shore. It started 400 years prior to that. There are no records that could even tell us how many slaves were killed. Millions and millions and millions of slaves died before they was transferred over here. And guess what? They was taken everywhere. Brazil is 80% Black. Come on. Brazil is 80%. How do you think the Blacks got to Russia and to some of those? Because they was took as slaves. And I got to say this. I'm sorry, ladies. I got to say this. I got to say this. Can I say it? This is war cry, and we're not politically correct. Over in Ukraine, where President Biden is sending trillions of dollars over there. Did you see how they treated the Black Africans that were studying in Ukraine? They didn't even want them to leave. They pushed them back, would not let them even leave, left them there to die. But yet this is a country, Ukraine, that has only been established for 50 years. But we're putting trillions of dollars, and we got people in these United States of America that don't have housing, that don't have food. We got kids going to sleep hungry at night, that don't have a place to lay their head. We got kids that don't have computers, don't have books, that are going to school and in areas where they have to run in and run out. Come on. Come on, let's just tell the truth in this place here. And it's all systematically put in place by people larger than who we think we see. See, this system is so connected together. And let me tell you something, ladies, it's some Black people that the color of you and I that, guess what, don't want us to make it either. Back at you, Phoenix.
Yes. And I'm not as well versed on the Ukrainian situation, so I really can't speak to that. But I want to go back to the state space from slavery to the White House. We've had situations where the students ask questions that are just so mind-blowing to me, that just the simplest things. So even if we just start, not even in school, start at home, buying a book. If we have the libraries full of books about our history, if a parent just takes his or her child to the library, a book about our history to give them some type of foundation, a book about role models. The parents are the first role models, the first teachers. And so one thing I noticed when we can't put everything on the school system. Everything starts at home. Parents are the first teachers.
It starts at home. But the family structure now is so dysfunctional, Phoenix. We got parents that are going in and out. We got parents, even based on what happened with COVID, that allow their kids to go in the room and let that social media educate them now. Where pedophiles is coming in the bedroom. Danielle, pedophiles are being invited into our bedrooms with our teens. They don't know who they are. You know why? Because the parents don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So when you have a playwright such as yourself, who can write from slavery to the White House, it's kind of mind-blowing. So tell us a little bit, what made you decide to write this play? What made you decide to name it From Slavery to the White House? Give us a little history about it.
Well, again, my dad always instilled my history in me. And it actually started off as an audition piece for the DuSable Museum of African American History in Chicago. I received a fluke phone call about coming in to become a resident artist. And I was like, okay, I think I can do that. And so I had to write the play that Friday. I had to write, the meeting was Wednesday or Thursday. I had to write the play that Friday, cast it Saturday, rehearse it Sunday, and then present it Monday to become a resident artist. And so when we did the show, we were so overwhelmed with the response. And one village picked it up, and we did it for Black History Month. And there was a line outside of the door, and they had to turn people away. And one of my good friends said, you know what, you have a hit on your hands. I was like, really, you think so? Because it's just started off as a 60-minute show. And so then that made me go back to rewrite the play and turn it into a 2-hour and 50-minute show with a 15-minute intermission for adults and for all ages. So I had to dig a little deeper for the adult version of the show. Then, so the show is different for the students as well as for the adults. So that's how it came about, being a resident artist for the DuSable Museum.
And what was one of the things you was looking for when you was casting people? What was some of the things you was looking for in your casting?
Well, one of the things I do is I always pray before I do anything. Even casting. When I wrote the show, I had a particular lady involved because one of the ladies is the main character, and she told me she couldn't do it at that point, and so I recast someone else. See, I've been doing shows for a minute, and so I've worked with some actors, and if I know that you're right for a role, and if you worked with me before, you won't necessarily have to audition for the role. I know where to place you. These roles are just, and this is just me, this might sound super weird, but sometimes when I'm in my car, I'm at home, I'm crying. I literally cry about this production. I literally cry about some of the roles because I hear the characters speak to me like, no, you didn't do that right. No, write that. And it's so emotional. I get so emotional regarding the show. When we're rehearsing, we're crying, and sometimes I have to stop rehearsal so we can let it resonate what happened, the emotions, because it's so heavy. And so we're backstage, we're literally crying backstage. Like, how do I get prepared for the next scene? Because most of the main characters, they play multiple roles. So you're talking about, let's say, Terrence playing 15 or more characters in the play. And so you're talking about from Africa, slave trade, auction, you name it, we do it. The children being stolen in the village, we do it. We show it all. We literally show lynchings, we show it. And you get the audience involved. And so you have the audience members involved and shouting out things, and just, it's emotional for us all. So if we're actors doing it, just imagine how the audience feels. And again, when I tell you, sometimes I'm in my car and I'm sitting and just thinking like, God, you gave me something so heavy, and it's so heavy.
Yes.
It's so real. It's about us.
Yeah. Yes. And God gave you something to touch our people and to change their mindsets, Phoenix. It's okay to cry because guess what? Our pain, we need to shed tears inside of our pains because we're shedding tears for all our hashtag sister girls that died, hashtag sister boys that died, hashtag children that died without knowing who they were. And it's time for us to wake up and stay woke. And how are you going to do that? By having played by somebody who feels the pain. See, I'm glad you feel the pain. I'm glad you feel the pain because in order to push pain forward, you got to first feel it yourself. And we feel the pain. Every time I visit a 14, 16-year-old premature death, I feel the pain of that mother, period. Now, I want to ask you a question. When you were doing the shows, would you give out some type of form maybe before you went in? What did you think about the play? After you left, what you think? So you could get some reviews or get some more credits for that. Do you do that? Fill me in, Phoenix.
Yes, ma'am. See, I'm the writer, producer, and director, and so I do so much. I've been trying to do that. We had and thank you so much for that too.
Wait, hold it for a minute, Phoenix, when you bring it to New York, Danielle, you and I volunteer to do that.
Yeah.
Raise your hand, Danielle. look, you got help in New York. You got help in New York. And look, and you may help in Chicago, and we can find some good round trip tickets. Okay. Go ahead, Danielle. Well, let Danielle just jump in for a minute because I feel that brain going. Go ahead, Danielle.
Oh, I just said I got a location.
You got a location?
But a friend of mine said, listen, I got some space and I want to open it up to my people. I said, say less.
Yes.
Hey. Okay, so we're going to make this happen. We're going to become a part of this production. We're going to move this thing around the world, and outside it's going to be international. We're going to move it. So you just got 2 more cast people here, and we are spiritual.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
And this is War Cry, and we are broadcasting from New York. And guess what? You could be a part of it too. You could be a part. You could donate money. You could donate time. You could donate resources to help us, to help Phoenix get this play across the board, because we understand that it's going to be some systematic racism that's going to come up to stop us. We're going to get some blockers. We're going to get some haters. A lot of the haters aren't just going to be white. It's going to be black, because a lot of us don't want to talk about our history, because this thing is about the haves versus the what? Have-nots. And a lot of us think we've arrived. Go ahead, Phoenix.
Yeah, I was going to say when we did it for one particular school, and I would love for you to meet this young lady. We were literally about to go on the stage, and they stopped us because of the word slavery, and they were afraid of it, afraid of what. They had no idea what we would do. And so we were able to do the show weeks later, but they were afraid of just the word slavery and the things that might come out of it. And it's a very positive play. We don't just stay in slavery. Again, you see the progression and the resilience of African Americans in America. And it just makes you, it's very empowering, and it makes you proud to be who you are. Proud to be who you are, and understand that we stand on the shoulders of some strong people. We are here, and we're not going anywhere. Understand that it comes from us, and so it's
us who has to go back and pull our people. Yes. See, it's left. God put that in our hands and our resources to do that. Danielle, at you. What you think, Danielle, what you've heard about Phoenix and her play?
I mean, it's just powerful. I'm over here and I feel it. Like the shoulders that we stand on. The shoulders that we stand on. And this is why we pay homage to our ancestors. Right? So it's like when I think of us and I think of our story, I never really understood why people get ashamed by the word slavery. I don't know. When I was growing up, my mom said, hey, your great-great-grandparent was enslaved.
That's right.
Okay? They were enslaved. And then when they got free, they bought land that has been in our family for over 100 years.
Yes.
And you know what? That white man would try it, but they could not with our family. And she told me, your grandpa fought in Vietnam War in the midst of Jim Crow. You know, and so my mom, she's telling me these stories so she understands whose shoulders I stand on. And for me, be clear, because you know what? That's to whom much is given to us. Much is required.
Much is required.
Yes.
Much is required for everything that our ancestors went through, that they fought for us. They fought for our survival today, for us to be able to do what the opportunities that are here. Like that's what I take from the story.
Yes.
Is that much is required of us to honor our ancestors. And so, you know, there's multiple strands. So yes, we're going to continue to make these systematic changes. But the opportunities that they fought for us, we need to pick them up and everything that we can possibly seize with what their blood, sweat, and tears fought for us today. And so I
absolutely,
it's two-pronged. We got to continue the fight for the systems, but you know, there's some pieces also that we could do a bit better job picking up. Picking up these opportunities and leveraging it to the best of our ability to lift ourselves and our people up. And so when I'm not ashamed that I am a descendant of an enslaved African in America.
That's right. That's right.
So proud.
Yes.
I am so proud.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Survived.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All of that. You've got to be a special kind of person to survive that and to bring your descendants to where we are today. So for that, I am proud. And I'm proud of being descendant of enslaved people. I'm proud of our African heritage as well. And I also think when we think about us as African Americans, what I think we, in addition to what we're doing here in our home, I think we have something to teach the world. I really do. The experiences that we have gone through, I think we have something to teach the world, and we're unique. And I'm talking about African Americans. I'm talking about Caribbeans. I'm talking about everybody in the diaspora. Everybody in the diaspora. We have something to teach the world. We are mixed with so many African tribes, so many African peoples. So we know what it's like to, okay, you from this group, you from this. Okay, well, we just gonna have to get together and survive this thing. Tribalism, and we're gonna put it to the side. And we're gonna
put it to the side.
Hey, I love it.
Because I think this is an opportunity. This is a teaching moment for the world.
Yes.
This is a teaching moment for the world. Most people say when you ask them, especially the African Americans, because we don't have really a place that we identify with. Our Caribbean sisters and brothers, they'll say, I'm a Jamaican American, but I'm from Jamaica. We say I'm an African American, but I'm from the South.
Right.
I'm from North Carolina. We can't even identify. An Irish American can say, I am an American, but I'm from Ireland. So we have no country to really identify with, period. And that has been a disconnect in who we are. I was just born and raised in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. Well, what happened before that? Well, I really don't know. I'm just here. No, baby, you're not just here. You came from somewhere. You came from a group of people that was proud. Kings and queens, baby. They brought you over here through resistance. You fought not to come, and they brought you here, and they beat you, and they killed and lynched our women and families because we were strong. The Native American Indians could not do what we could do because we were strong when we were in Africa. So we need to really put that down. I mean, the black on black crime, that's connected to tribalism. We just don't understand that. We don't understand why so much blood, because it's in our blood. And we've got to teach that who we came from. And our young men don't understand that. They are hanging in gangs. That's tribalism. Gangs is a form of a tribe. And we're not teaching them that. The Jews, they teach their history, oral communication. Unapologetic. They sit down. I want to tell you what happened at the Holocaust. I want to tell you what happened when God opened the Red Sea. I want to tell you what happened, Esther, the purity. I want to tell you what happened because I don't want you to ever forget, because if you forget, you least to go back. We repeat it. We don't do that. We want to say, well, you know what? I don't know why we're talking about all that kind of stuff. I made it. So I made it. I went to school. We want to be like, no, let me tell you something. I'm going to say it, finish, and then I'm going to let you talk. Clarence Thomas, you made it on the shoulders of a slave. Clarence Thomas, this is for you, Supreme Court Justice. You didn't just make it on your own. Now you crossed over because you married somebody that was not looking like us, that didn't push you out. But guess what? You made it on the shore. Equal rights opportunities helped you get to Supreme Court. Don't think you made it because you were smart, homeboy. You ain't that smart. Finish that you.
You're right. We all made it on the shoulders of African Americans. Again, like we talk about in the play, we built this country. So many inventions came from us. But for us to build America, to make it what it is, and just recognize it. It is what it is. It's okay. It is what it is. Okay. And again, some African Americans don't want to deal with pain. And again, like we were talking about trauma is very difficult to deal with. And pain is very difficult to deal with. All of my plays are deal with social issues that affect us.
Now tell us some more. I'm sorry. Give us some more of your plays you wrote. We just don't want to stick with it. Give us some more.
Well, we have child support. And child support is about supporting the child socially, economically, emotionally, and physically. And it's not a male bashing play, because 2 women get served child support papers as well as 2 men. And again, when you look at the lessons, I try to give lessons in my shows. We never use profanity in any of the shows. So always a positive lesson. We always use our babies. I always have to add a bit of humor, because when you're teaching a lesson, you have to add a little bit of humor, and then they can take it a little better. Because if I'm just pushing you, beating you in the head with the lesson, that's it's like, wait, that's enough. I don't want to hear all of that. And so, and that's why when people come to see From Slavery to the White House, and if they stay in the show, they're like, oh, okay, I get it. It's not just, oh my God, over my head, so painful that I can't take it. But then it makes you realize we have so much more work to do. Let me go back and do a little more research. Let me call my daughter and my son and my niece and nephews and give them a little bit of our family history. Let me pick up a book and learn about my family history. Wow, I never thought about that. Oh, I forgot that happened in the 70s. Oh, let me research that a little more. And even when we go into schools, we give we'll give the principal or the teachers like a timeline. This is how you can insert this into your lesson plan to make it easier to teach our history to our babies, and not just our babies, to everyone, because no matter who you are, you should know your history. And so that's what we do with child support. We have Are We Equal, which is about a white family goes through the same thing as a Black family, and the outcome's different. Why? Are we equal? Are we treated equally?
Wait a minute. I got something to say about that. Phoenix, I need to come in. You done hit on a sore spot. I could never understand why, when we look at, what was this picture? Married with Children, about this shoe salesman and his 2 children one was so dumb he couldn't pass any test. The other one was a bleep, bleep, bleep. The housewife was stupid, and he was a shoe salesman, and they were living next door to a banker. Now, then we're going to flip it on what was that? What's the other one where the husband, this was a black family. One was, he was a sanitation worker. They were that's not 227. What's that one where Janet Jackson got her start?
Which one?
Her start in. That was the one where the black husband, was a sanitation worker. It's JJ, the one with JJ.
Good times.
So you had Married with Children, and you had Good Times. You had a white shoe salesman living next to a banker. You have a sanitation worker living in the projects with his wife. What's up with that? What's up with that? And then we had shows like Bill Cosby, where you had to be a lawyer, a doctor, or Indian chief to do that. And then we had the show that Will Smith was on. Then we had the show where, what was that? The South moving on up. Come on. How could you look at a white man who was a shoe salesman and compare him to a black man who's a sanitation worker and make him a hero? You see, are we equal? Does the media even want to portray if we're equal? And now we're looking at all these fake reality shows that has came in and influenced our young girls that you must have a wig all the way down to the end of your behind. You must have your body augmented. You must have eyelashes that go all the way out to the deep blue sea in order for someone to love you. Self-love, baby. Self-love.
That's another play that I have coming out. It's about Black women loving themselves, and it's called Just As I Am. Loving yourself just as you are. And so I deal with issues that affect our community,
Oh, girl, I'm feeling this. And Danielle, tell us a little bit about, maybe you'll do a play from this one, domestic violence in the church and in our community. Go ahead, Danielle, tell us a little something about that.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we do know is that our community is heavily impacted by domestic violence. We do have some of the highest rates across different groups. And, and we talk about it in light of this history, it compounds the situation, right? Because it compounds the situation as to why I think we may not, we struggle to address it in the community. Because if our community is already looked at as a problem already, then we don't want our dirty laundry out there. So what happens is we don't talk about it. And then when we don't talk about it because we don't want the dirty laundry to be seen, it compounds and it gets worse. So, it makes it much more difficult for survivors within our communities to address the situation, to get the help that they need, and also to just be believed and supported. So, it's important.
Okay, Danielle, I got to come in. I'm sorry. I got to come in because I got a question. As Black people, we are taught, we don't tell it what's going on in our house. What happens in this house stays in this house. Do not go out and tell anybody what's happening in my house. Now, if you kind of like seen your father sort of hit me, you didn't really see it. Even though I got glasses on, even though I got plenty makeup on, I'm kind of used to that. And it has been so bad now that trauma of seeing that repeated in our families has now jumped on our teenage boys and our teenage girls. So now we got domestic violence among our teens. Period. Go ahead, Danielle.
Well, and I was just going to say, in the, we don't tell what's going on in our homes. That's a challenge. But then also, who are you going to tell? Are you going to tell those officers that are over here beating and killing us and not helping survivors when they need help? Are we going to tell there's the challenge.
The pastor. Are we going to tell our pastors?
Are you going to tell the pastor who sometimes, there's challenges in addressing it? Like, how do you know? Like, if your faith community, your congregation, your church, that is the area of your number one support for many Black women. It's a huge source of support. So if you go and share and you don't know which way that your pastor is going to come, address it, it can be devastating, right? Or it can be the beginning of transformation. The work we do at Connect is trying to equip clergy and faith communities, so it could be the beginning of transformation and not alienation. And so, I just wanted to share that. And as it relates to the teen violence, I think it was April is Teen Dating Violence Month, and there's going to be a march, but it was postponed. But we're seeing are you familiar with Blueface and Chrissy and Rock? Blueface is a rapper. No. Chrissy and Rock, she's a reality TV show person on Zeus Network. Zeus Network is a hot mess. I mean, y'all thought VH1 was something. Zeus Network, it just shows Black people fighting on every single show.
Oh, wow.
And we're seeing the financial, emotional, and then the physical abuse that's happening between Blueface and Chrissy Ann live on television, on reality TV shows. And it's
yes, let me come in. Live on reality TV shows. The media is giving us the narrative of what our young people see and hear. Drill rap music is giving us the narratives of what our young kids, they're calling women bleak, bleak. They're calling women bleak, bleak, bleak. They're telling them to suck my bleak, bleak, bleak. They're saying we can have multiple partners at one time. This is why we have to have shows like War Cry and us being on here to get this narrative out worldwide. Worldwide. This is another reason we need our own station, because guess what? It's time for the urban people to move up to the mountain and the mountain people to come down. This is not a cute thing to talk about. As Phoenix said, it's painful. I was crying. I was like, oh my God, I feel bad because I feel the pain of that woman named Claire Barnett that was hung, that was lynched, that was torn from her family doing slavery and lynched in front of her children. And guess what? Her head was decapitated. Guess what? We got to learn to say their names. It happened. And guess what, Phoenix? And guess what, Danielle? It's still happening because our kids' bodies are being sold for organ parts. Nobody looks for a Black kid like they look for a white kid. I don't want to go into that. I'm going to be nice. Go back, pull back, pull back, pull back. Be nice, but we're not politically correct, ladies. We're Christ correct. And Christ was social justice. See, Jesus came to set the captives free. And we need freedom among our people. Free minds, free way of thinking, free enterprises. We're entrepreneurs. We're creators. Women, men, we can all do it. Our men that are locked up in prison, we need to retrain them when they come out so they don't do the repeated cycle. And all of them are not locked up. They're all not locked up. I don't care what the media says.
Right.
We got good Black men and good Black women. We're doing a lot of things out here, but what do we need? What do we need? We need for those that have made it to come back and help us who are down here now on the urban area trying to pull up people. Give us money. Give us money, Jay-Z. Give us money, Mike. Give us money, LeBron. I know you're doing a lot of civic things, but we need your help. We need your faith at the beginning of what we're going through. This is War Cry. I'm sorry, ladies. Sometimes I go off like this. And guess what? I don't apologize. Back at you, Phoenix.
I was going to say, we have to learn how not to be on the defense, but the offense. Because when you're on defense, you're blocking, you're busy every day, you're blocking, then you can't create. You can't think.
That's right.
You can't come up with that business plan or what should I do? Oh, this is a great idea, because you're so busy fighting. I mean, just like basketball. On defense, what are you doing? You're trying to protect, trying to prevent that other team.
Wait,
from
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Keep the Knicks name out of your mouth.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I wasn't
Basketball.
gonna say any team
Basketball
name.
is a.
Notice I didn't say any team name.
No, basketball is a touchy subject with New York right now. Okay, so just don't give another illustration. Stay away from basketball.
No matter. We have our teams here in Chicago. Whether they win or lose, I'm still a fan of my Chicago teams. But just in any sports, when you're playing defense, what are you trying to do? Trying to prevent that other team from scoring on you. So African Americans trying to protect yourself. But when you're on offense, what are you doing? Oh, you see options and opportunities. So, and that's how we should be able to see options and opportunities and ways to do this. And that's how we're trying to get our youth to be.
We're trying to get them because you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Our youth in our urban areas are always in the survival mode.
Yeah, defense. Yeah. Defense.
We're always defense, trying to survive, trying to hustle, trying to make it, trying to do so, trying to get out, or trying to live in. See, we either trying to give out, or we get out, or trying to live in. And so we are always at that. This is a survival. So we need to come in and start teaching some skill sets about who we are. Now, it's 11:56, and we do a lot of things before we go. But one of the things I want to do, Phoenix, and I want to do Danielle, I want you to tell us how to get in contact with you. Tell us what we need to do to help you. You're first, Phoenix, and then Danielle.
So you can check me out on my website, www.cphoenixtyler.com. You can email me, phoenix@cphoenixtyler.com. You can check me out on Facebook, Phoenix Tyler, or Instagram, cPhoenixTyler, to see about our shows. We can't wait to get to New York. We're so excited about getting to New York with my New York family and making it happen. I love you guys. I'm just so honored, Elder Montgomery, and I'm so honored, Danielle, to know you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Okay, Danielle, you.
Great. So yes, you can meet or learn more about Connect at www.connectnyc.org. You can email me at dwilliams@connectnyc.org. That is scrolling across the screen. If you're a faith community and you're figuring out, hey, we want to we want to prevent domestic violence, we want to promote peaceful families, please give us a call. We are here to help come up with training specific to your faith tradition for your congregation. We can help you develop programmings and teachings from within your tradition that you want to share with your community.
Yes, and this is War Cry. And we have t-shirts that says, I am praying for our children. What we want you to do is hit us up on our Gmail, which is warcry.children@gmail.com. You can get us also on our website, which is War Cry for Our Children. And that's our Gmail, which is warcry.children@gmail.com. If you know some children that you want us to pray for, I get up every morning at 4 o'clock praying for our children and for this woke generation. Now, request a t-shirt. You're going to have to give me your email, give me your mailing address, because I'm going to send it out to you. It says, I am praying for our children. Put prayer back into school. Only thing we ask you to do is to get a school district and pray for it. Get a school and pray for it. To go out and stand on the corner and let our children know that somebody is praying for them. And it's not the drug dealers. See, a lot of people are not bold in coming out like we are. So, but a t-shirt is a silent affirmation. It speaks volumes. I am praying for our children. Put prayer back into school. Prayer is not taken out because the parents can pray for their children and put prayer in their children. We want to march. We want to have thousands of people with t-shirts. We want to take this land by any means necessary. Warcry.children@gmail.com. Let me pray for those people, those children. I'm getting up every morning. Prayer makes a difference. Send me your size and your address, and I will send you a shirt. There's only one thing to it. You must tell me what school district, what school, what crossing place, crossing guard section you're praying for, because we want to get you out of the building into the streets. This is war cry. Now, before we go off the air, this is what we do. We always think of one word. Which one word would you like to leave our audience with? One word that can influence and change a generation. One word. At you, Phoenix.
Faith.
Faith. Okay, and why faith?
Because you have to believe in something and believe that you can change. Things can change. Keep the faith no matter what things look like. Trust in him. Have that faith in him, and things will change. Keep the faith no matter what your circumstances look like.
You sound like a preacher. Let me just let that go. Okay. Okay. Danielle, what one word would you like to leave out on this?
I'd say vision. Vision. And vision is about just reflecting on the conversation earlier, right? When we go from a space of defense, and then we go to a space of visioning. And that is when we dream big, and we take hold of those things that we can control, and we make the best of that.
Yes.
Okay. I want to leave endurance. Endurance to move forward, understanding what's behind us. Endurance not to let any obstacle stop us. We're in this together, and this is War Cry. I thank you, ladies, for joining me. This has been a great show.
Yes,
We're going to get back together again.
Yes.
You're coming to New York. Danielle, we got to make it happen.
Yes.
We got to make it happen. Yes. Okay, I love you guys. I love you. Continue praying for our young people. Continue fighting as we press on. And we make a difference. We make a difference. This is War Cry. See you next week. This is War Cry. We're on the wall crying out for our children, our communities, our schools, our churches, our families. This is War Cry. Welcome to our reality. Gun violence, Chicago, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, just to name a few. Our black children are dying day by day. This is War Cry. Police brutality. Hands up. Don't move. I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter to Christ. This is War Cry. Drugs, rape, mass shootings, school violence. This is War Cry, galvanizing people to pray for our children and to take action. Let's march on Washington. We want prayer back in school. This is War Cry, cameras, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is War Cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is War Cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is War Cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is War Cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is War Cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. Fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is War Cry. HBCUs under attack. This is War Cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is War Cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is War Cry. Let us come together and pray for our young people, pray for our communities, pray for our schools, pray for our churches. Pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is War Cry, home of the brave, land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is War Cry. Hashtag mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their sons. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is War Cry.
I know who goes before